Ever feel like the world is spinning faster and that we've somehow lost our sense of where we came from? In this episode, we'll slow down together and rediscover how remembering well helps us live forward, not backward. I'll show how looking to the past can do three healing things. It can recenter your perspective when the present feels confusing or rushed. Bridge your story to those who came before you so the past feels close, not cold. It can restore hope for the future by showing how reflection, not amnesia, moves us forward. Through one unforgettable true story from World War II, the North Platte Canteen, we'll see how ordinary people turned a moment of scarcity into a legacy of generosity. Their example shows that the way home in a restless world is not through nostalgia, but through gratitude, memory, proportion. Last time in this series, we talked about the golden rule of historical thinking. We said that was treating people from the past with patience, proportion, and empathy. We hope those who come after us will do the same, seeing us as real, complex people, not caricatures. Today we turn to habit number 5, history forward. To grow in historical consciousness, we need to move from noticing history to really using it. To live in a way that makes the past a living companion, not a fading memory. I call this a history forward approach. That's an unusual way to say things. What I mean is this, where our understanding of history shapes how we see the present and imagine the future. Chesterton once wrote, "Among the many things that leave me doubtful about the modern habit of fixing eyes on the future, none is stronger than this, that all the men in history who have really done anything with the future have had their eyes fixed upon the past." In other words, the people who built tomorrow were always students of yesterday. Instead of singing with Fleetwood Mac, "Don't stop thinking about tomorrow," Chesterton might tell us, "Don't stop thinking about the past." He knew that our imagination for the future is powered by memory, that forgetting who we've been leaves us unsure of who we're becoming. Now, some say it's dangerous to look back too much. Focusing on the past keeps us from moving forward. But that idea usually comes from the extremes, from those who either worship progress or despise the past entirely. History forward isn't about nostalgia. It's not about progress for its own sake. In fact, that word progress, it's not really about that at all. It's about remembering wisely, holding the past close enough to inform what comes next. My favorite historian, one of my favorite historians, John Lukács, often reminded us that societies sometimes move backward before they can go forward. That's why he was often called a reactionary. And finally, in his life, he admitted, "I am a reactionary because history is not a straight line. It's a dialogue between memory and hope." So what does a history-forward person actually do? Well, they let memory shape their daily life, their work, their relationships, how they solve problems. They understand that progress grows out of remembrance, and that forgetting the past is often where poor planning begins. I love science fiction. It's all about imagining new worlds. But if you look closely, great science fiction writers are really historians in disguise. They always build the future from the materials of the past. That's what it means to live history forward, to move toward tomorrow while carrying memory as your compass. This habit also means seeing how the big story connects to our story, how national or global events flow into the lives of families, farms, neighborhoods, churches. Some historians today criticize their predecessors for glorifying key moments or for labeling them revolutions. I'm one of them. I've done that too. But even those early historians were often trying to do something noble. They were trying to show how large historical forces shaped the lives of ordinary people. When we think history forward, we see the same truth, but with proportion. Let's take an example. World War II. It wasn't just fought overseas, was it? It reached into nearly every home through rationing books, telegrams, even empty chairs at dinner tables, and the quiet courage of those who waited. Like in the movie It's a Wonderful Life, the global became personal, didn't it? Our own beliefs, opportunities, and limitations were shaped by those who came before us. It reminds us that history isn't a spectacle we watch. It's a mirror that we live inside. That's why family letters, photographs, and church records really matter. They're not just keepsakes. They're evidence that the big story runs right through our small lives. There are 4 ways this habit shapes us. First, it humanizes history. People of the past become neighbors, not strangers. Secondly, it builds perspective. We want to see the big and small things of history together, the wide sweep and the intimate detail. Third, fosters gratitude. I begin to understand that my life really does rest on unseen sacrifices of those who endured hardship, fought for freedom, or kept the faith when things fell apart. Finally, it anchors us in a sense of belonging. We realize we're part of a story still being written, one that stretches backward and forward at the same time. Let me share a story that captures this perfectly. A story that took place about 40 miles in that direction from where I'm sitting right now. Speaking how in my wife's hometown, more than a decade before she was born, this happened. And it was one of the finest examples of connecting the distant and the personal. It's the story of something called the North Platte Canteen. Sometimes the biggest stories happen in the smallest towns. During World War II, North Platte, Nebraska was just a stop on the Union Pacific Railroad, but its location made it a crossroads of the American war effort. In December 1941, just after Pearl Harbor, word spread that a Nebraska National Guard unit would pass through. The townspeople rushed to the station with food and gifts, cigarettes, and coffee, only to find that the soldiers on the train were strangers from another state, my home state, Kansas. They served them anyway. That one act of kindness grew into something just extraordinary. Over the next 4.5 years, the North Platte Canteen became a 24-hour volunteer effort, staffed by people from more than 125 small towns. Those people served nearly 6 million servicemen passing through on troop trains, 10 minutes at a time, every day for the entire war. And they had no government funding, only donations. Families gave out of their own rations because that was a time of rationing. 1 pound of coffee every 5 weeks. 8 ounces of sugar per person per week. They pooled their rationing stamps. They gave up their morning coffee and they baked from what little they had. They didn't change the course of the war, perhaps, but they changed the meaning of it. For those soldiers, for those 10 minutes, the war stopped and they were home. Those soldiers were home. The people of North Platte made the distant personal. And that's what History Forward is all about. They showed that history isn't just numbers or battles, it's people. Whole, complex, surprising. They didn't analyze the war, they answered it. With love, not theory. That's the heart of the History Forward habit. To see that even small acts done faithfully belong to the vast story of who we are. Next time, We'll talk about how to avoid oversimplifying that story, how to root out something we call reductionism. A big word, but it means we'll try to resist shrinking history down to just politics or psychology or economics alone. We often hear that done. But those things are just tools. They're not the whole truth. The real story of the past is far bigger and far more human than any single explanation can hold. Thanks for spending this time with me. If this story stirred something in you, I hope you'll like, subscribe, and share it so more people can learn to see history and themselves with clearer eyes. So, until next time, keep thinking historically.